Well, hey there. We just had a super geeky exchange on Twitter a couple days ago, and I thought maybe it would be cool to do a quick overview of my new Metagrid setup. I changed a bunch of stuff and moved to a different iPad. So the screen you're looking at right now is kind of the main screen, but not the one I use most of the time. There's a lot of leftover commands here that have sort of been replaced with me using key commands. Like all of these here in the middle, the locator commands and pasting and stuff, I just use key commands. However, these up here, these all pertain to takes, and I use them all the time on Metagrid. It's really great, especially the delete inactive. That one is fantastic if I've got 2 or 3 versions of something and I only want to keep the version that is currently up. These guys are actually incredibly helpful as well. MIDI Device Manager is an impossible to find window. And if you're trying to do patch lists especially, it can be very, very helpful. And sync setup is simply the project synchronization setup in Cubase, and it allows you to do things like send MIDI timecode for syncing up, effects, or tempos for external sequencers on a synth or something. And then find and pull is pretty straightforward, but man, how great. If there's a soundbite and I just want to see if it's been edited or look at all the data on it, just tap find and pull, totally good to go. Some of these other ones over here, the dual mono to stereo and stereo to dual mono actually help me a lot as well, and it's kind of hard to find, as well as bounce selection, because that's just a real quick kind of replacement for whatever you've got going on your timeline with audio. These guys down here are fairly major. That's find missing sound files, find unused sound bites in your window, delete what you've selected, and then you can also back up your project. So those are super shortcuts for audio files and stuff like that. All the fade things, honestly, I just have shortcuts that I use for key commands. Now this button here, the VST button, the purple one on the right screen, I'm going to tap it, and it's going to pop this up. I've got this on all 3 of my windows, and all this really is toggle buttons for my different folders of sounds. So this would be all of my synths coming on or off in terms of visualization. They're appearing or they're disappearing. Or if I want to toggle the individual folder of synths, I can choose that. So maybe I don't have any woodwinds up in my view and I want to see what all my woodwind choices would be. I would toggle all of them, or I can toggle specific ones. And this stays up until either I swipe to the side or I hit the back button in the bottom left corner. By the way, if you want to have a more practical version of this and see how it works in Cubase, I've done it earlier, and I will link to the video from a couple years ago at the end of this one. But I can also do an updated one if you're interested. So just let me know in the comments below. And then effects and groups is also super great because it pulls up all the effects channels or hides them. Same thing with the groups. So I can go back and I'm going to go to my second page, which is where I sit most of the time because it's basically all about controller data. All of these guys on the left are just invaluable. I mean, they're pretty straightforward. If it's red, it means delete or less. In this case, all these over here are deleting muted MIDI notes or muted regions. It's just really, really helpful. Now this kind of bank, all of these guys have to do with CCs. So at the top, that's your like controller lane view. So if you tap it, it basically hides or shows controller 11, the automation lane for controller 11, and then you can select copy or delete them. This is up and down by, I don't remember, I think it's like 5%. And the great thing is if I tap on it and hold it, you see the arrow gets smaller. And what it's actually doing is just continuing to send that command. So as I hold it down, you can see the controller moving up and down fairly slowly, because I think I have it on like 3%. These guys would be if I wanted to do more than 3%, and it would do the same thing. But in order for these columns to work with controllers, I would have to select it first. So if I wanted to turn CC7 up by 10 specifically, I would select it and then I could go up by 10 or down by 10, or just hold it and it'll successfully go down in increments of 10. Very, very helpful. And these are wonderful for reassigning things. I've gotten pretty good about having all my libraries with the same controllers and things like that. But sometimes, especially like 11 to 1, you know, maybe the expression is the mod wheel and the filter needs to be something different. It'll just change it immediately, which is just fantastic. You'll notice there's a group of commands kind of around here. If I go to the next screen, see how they're the same? All of these guys down here. I don't necessarily need to have full screens of like 20 different pages. So I kind of kept the key ones, and you'll see the VST button here. Let me go back. But this VST button is going to be the same on this page in the middle right side of the screen. VST, VST. That's all on purpose so that I can access that button no matter what page I'm on. These automation buttons are also very, very helpful and fairly self-explanatory. So these are all CC data. These all deal with velocity. So they're doing the same thing. It's just the ones on the right are doing velocity. The ones on the left are doing CC data. And then on my last screen, you've got, hey, it looks familiar. All these guys here. If I go back, look, there they are again. Oh, and this is really nice. It basically makes whatever I select C3 all the way across. So just super, super easy and fun to edit things instead of dragging every single individual note. And then this is more MIDI data manipulation. This will select the highest, the second to highest, the second to lowest, or lowest pitch. Green for selection. This will delete the same thing. And then these are just setting velocity values, and then these are selecting different things based on their length. And then this will also select velocities in between, like 121 to 127. Turn them up, turn them down, you know, all the usual stuff. That's more or less it. And like I said, if you want to deep dive, just let me know.